Hello, thanks for checking out this video. Today I'm going to make a statement about Charlie Kirk and share my opinion on the whole situation and what I think about it and how it relates to free speech, and also talk a lot about empathy. And I think there's a lot to say there, so I hope you watch most of this video, but if you just want to hear my statement on Charlie Kirk, you can just watch the first couple minutes. Basically, I think it's wrong that he got shot, and I don't condone his murder. So I'll just say that straight out the gate, and it's really unfortunate that he got shot and that happened in front of his family. So I think that no matter what, people have to always have some basic humanity and have empathy for everybody, and on a very human level. As people, I do have empathy for him. I personally would never be capable of harming him physically like that, even though I don't like him as a person. And if he got hurt in front of me, like if he'd gotten shot but not was somewhere else in the body and was just really injured, I would have tried, if I was there personally, I would have tried to do everything I could to keep him alive, because I don't think like physical violence is justified against him or anything like that. So I do not condone what happened to Charlie Kirk. Second part is that Charlie Kirk is both a person, an individual, and a public figure, a symbol. A symbol that he chose to turn himself into as part of a business model, because, in my opinion, America is an uncivilized country, and he is an American. He lives in that uncivilized country. It's all about greed and capitalism and pursuing money. So he had a business that he funded, which I suspect would be actually astroturfed or heavily invested in by, like, certain political groups. So he's not completely organic, but that's just me speculating. Anyway, he has a business where he goes around to colleges and kind of like rage baits young kids into arguing with him so he can film it on the internet and basically make a type of culture war propaganda out of it. So a lot of people have gotten mad about this in different ways, and I've lost a lot of acquaintances and had a lot of people DM me and tell me to go fuck myself in the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, since a week or however long it's been since this happened, and I don't mind at all, because this has really allowed me to see people's true colors and things I always suspected but just know for sure. And I've been sharing a lot of edgy memes about Kirk, and so I should clarify my own position, because my social media is for like personal friends and not this. It's a different type of thing than this. So I'll say this: like, I don't have, as a symbol, like, I understand why people have no empathy for Charlie, and empathy is a very, very, very important human quality, probably the most important human quality. And Charlie was someone who was very unempathetic and didn't have a high opinion of empathy. And this is part of a cultural movement in general right now, where a lot of right-wing Christians are sort of trying to rebrand empathy as this bad thing. They're calling it toxic, and they're saying that the Bible doesn't give you any obligation to be empathetic, because it's a left-wing thing that's making everybody weak and crushing society and blah blah blah. And Charlie is a character. This isn't these weren't good faith free speech debates, right? This is a 31-year-old man that's just being ignorant and representing a white status quo that is racist and sexist and getting all that other way. He said a bunch of stupid shit. If he believed it genuinely, what he was saying, he's just a garbage human being. And if he didn't believe it and he was just saying it to make money and inflame people, he's a garbage human being. So I don't know how to interpret this, but as a symbol, I don't feel anything bad for him, being killed. And it doesn't surprise me that it's like a young white guy from a Christian conservative background in Utah that would shoot him and have access to a sniper rifle to begin with. I mean, I'm a Canadian, right? I think America's a disgusting, uncivilized country. And like, Charlie was would argue with somebody like me about why people need to be able to have access to weapons and be able to do what that kid did to him. So the whole thing is wrapped in irony and humor, in a sense, right? So, trying to frame this as like left-wing people killed a guy who was a big free speech advocate of the people, and this shows how tyrannical the left is and willing to use violence. This is all very weird nonsense. I mean, all of this went down in Utah with a kid from a Mormon background who had a sniper rifle, and if he was a leftist and an incompetent leftist, he was pretty competent, because from 200 yards away he sniped Charlie Kirk, of all people. America's just a circus and a freak show of gun violence and ignorance and angry white men doing weird shit. And that's I don't know, like, how are you going to deny that, right? And like we don't know the true motive of this guy, his background. So speculating is just kind of, we can speculate, but like thinking the narrative is what actually happened is silly, and there's always a huge chance that this was also part of some sort of false flag thing, right? That's like, I'm an agnostic on all these things, so I don't have hard opinions on conspiracy theories. I just understand that like all of this stuff could always be false flags, so you have to take everything with a bit of a grain of salt, right? But back to this thing about empathy. There is a thing about performative empathy, and a lot of narcissistic people in the world who are faking empathy and stuff like that. And so like if I just tell you I'm an empathetic person, you should be skeptical of that always. But like the truth is, I am a very empathetic person. That's my entire metaphysical theories, and all of my personal values come out of empathy. So yeah, I'm an empathetic person. I'm not feeling bad for Charlie Kirk right now because, you know, objectively think about this from both a logical, like a brain computing point of view, and just a spiritual point of view. Like all day long I watch videos, right, of Palestinian kids that are getting killed by, you know, troops, and we just went through a genocide. Like I mean by I mean like the world witnessed this genocide happen to these people, and you know most of us are completely powerless to do anything about it, but we just know it's happening. And you just see this evil playing out, and you see people not reacting to it at all. Also watch a lot of videos of, you know, ICE raids on illegal immigrants who are being scapegoated and beating up like women in front of their kids and hauling them off and leaving the kids behind. So it does feel very Nazi Germany-esque, right? And this is like, it weighs on me because it's a part of my day is spent consuming. There's a part of me that has to be responsible and keep up to date on things, and I'm always consuming media. This has been going on since I was, 21 years old, and I started taking mass comm classes at Carleton University, and we had to watch these footage all day long of American troops killing these Iraqi guys they're in Iraq or in Afghanistan. There's these families, these Muslim families, and we had the tapes so we could hear these Americans making jokes where they would shoot a kid, and then try to lure the parent out into the road to try to help the kid, and then they'd shoot the dad, and then they'd laugh about it, and like just the way they would torture these people. It's American imperialism and stuff that I'm living through every day. Like we see, like witnessing every day. I mean, like that is eliciting empathy for me, and I think these people are truly innocent. So this subject of like selective empathy comes up because people are accusing me of being very selectively empathetic, and I suppose in a sense I am, because empathy for me is not a calculated thing that like I have a Bible that tells me I need to be empathetic, so then or sympathetic either. I'm using that the term at this point for me is interchangeable. I don't know, I could elaborate on that after, but the point is like there's these subjective feelings that if you have a heart and a soul, like you should naturally feel when you see things. And so how people react to symbols shows a lot, right? Like all of my white friends that have DM'd me and told me to go fuck myself, right, have been completely silent on all these injustices all over the place that have been happening, carried out basically by U.S. imperialism, which we are all living under and benefiting from as white guys, right? Like I'm personally don't feel responsible for these things, but I do acknowledge like the whole setup, and I think that we should always criticize our own group, especially like before we start throwing stones at others, especially if our own group is actually like the evil group that's on top that's causing all this shit. So about being selectively empathetic, yeah, I see Palestinian children as much more innocent and deserving of or just not both just literally deserving, but also just they are eliciting naturally more empathy from me than Charlie Kirk, this is gross troll, capitalist scumbag with a lot of gross views, right? I'll continue on that, and what thing just absolutely abhorrent, stupid shit that he's saying. And this will bring up another thing. Like before I say this, keep in mind that I'm a poor straight white male, so I know what the perspective of a poor straight white male is, especially in this time and place. And I lived through all the culture war, and I've had like leftist, like Antifa people threaten me and all this stuff. So I understand that perspective. I also have tried to see other people's perspectives as well. So it's not that like the fact that I'm very progressive and I'm worried about other people's points of view. It's not like I don't understand something about how disenfranchised, alienated white men feel. Like I've gone through, I'm older than I look, right? So I do understand a lot of this subjectively, but maturing means that you kind of see through a lot of the bullshit. So I was invited to speak at a Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson event one time, and like I can tell you, like those events, they weren't authentic. Like I was a useful idiot in these situations, because they would take people like that were like true believers, like me in the free speech issue at the time, and like have us like be speakers at their events to kind of give it more authenticity. But the whole thing is just a money making scheme, and probably related to even a bit larger psyops involving like views on Israel and stuff like that. I could speculate all day long, but the point is, I do feel like I was used, and a lot of other people. And they learn that these characters are all money grubbing opportunists, and they're just not authentic. And I guess if people don't naturally understand, if they can't see Charlie Kirk for being like a narcissist and an opportunist, then I think those people are just young, and some of them will never get it, and some of them will get older and be more mature and recognize him for what he is. But for my white friends who've told me to go fuck myself, who said nothing about anything about empathy until this happened, for me it's just a total like it reveals so much that I would already kind of could predict basically, but like really as their character, because they're absolutely pissed at me for I've been sharing memes that are kind of making fun of Charlie Kirk in some ways. Keep in mind it's on my public personal social media, and they're like some of them are a bit edgy, but it's the symbol of Kirk for what he was, right? This disgusting the weird thing too is that I know people are trying to frame this about like the left or anti-free speech. It means they don't actually have a broader context yet, or a deeper understanding of the history of all of this stuff, and like what the underlying philosophy of leftism is. They're just not well read on theory, and so they don't actually understand a lot of that stuff. They're just seeing the way it's packaged in the U.S. today as like the culture war grift. But where was I going with that? Yeah, empathy. I've stopped debating with a lot of Christian people. I don't like, the more I learn about organized religion and just the evolution of religion and human beings for what we are as a type of evolved primate, I can completely accept the fact that we evolved to be religious. Human beings are fundamentally religious creatures. It's like a type of software that they need. It's not just a cultural thing on top of a biological animal. We've evolved to be that way. We're status driven religious animals that were fundamentally egalitarian, but have also developed like a sort of a culture on top of that that's now based on competition. And it's very bizarre, our nature, like when you really understand humans. Where was I going with that? But it's sad, I think we live in a narcissistic culture. We're a culture in decline. Cultures in the beginning that are rising are open, tolerant, and you can't have a lot of narcissism in a society and have growth. And right now we're a culture that's declining, so the narcissism is rising, and a lot of people do hide behind performative empathy or fake empathy. I think for a lot of you guys, you either get it or you don't. If you know what empathy is, you can judge for yourself who you think is authentic and who isn't. Again, like there's this whole concept of Karl Popper wrote about the paradox of tolerance, which is something I kind of have grown to appreciate much more over the last decade of doing all this. And I don't feel anymore, even though I'm a pro-free speech guy, that culturally there shouldn't be pushback against intolerant cultures. I don't feel a lot of empathy for, how should I articulate this? Right now, I think that we're going through a lot of chaos and a lot of sort of cultural nihilism. And as a response to that, a lot of people are using religion as a sort of anesthesia because they're just psychologically overwhelmed with everything. And that's what religion is for a lot of people. I'm not a materialist atheist. I have my own metaphysical theories on things, my own spirituality, but it's just I'm not into organized religion at all, which I think is an evolved system of human control, basically. I think we were fundamentally religious in the beginning because we were, worshiping nature and the stars and stuff. But I think like today, like with Catholicism and these organized religions, it's all social control and corruption and stuff like that. What else did I want to talk about in this video? Yeah, I guess basically just trying to explain why I don't feel the same kind of sadness for someone like Charlie Kirk as I do for like the stuff I see every day, when it's basically people that are, when you're looking at this, there's the oppressor and the oppressed, right? And not to overgeneralize this, but if you're going to be selectively empathetic, like I usually am more empathetic for the people at the bottom of a power hierarchy than I am at the top. So whenever people are like ignore everyone at the bottom and then they jump, Charlie Kirk is a symbol for the white status quo, basically, right? And like Christo-fascism or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, if that's the thing that you choose to become super empathetic about, when he had basically provoked, again, I'm not condoning his murder, but I mean, he went out there and did a bunch of weird shit, and then a weird white kid from a Christian conservative background got a sniper rifle and shot him. Like, what is a genuine left-wing person supposed to make of all of that? I also think young people don't have a concept of like mass communications, or like they don't get taught it, so they don't understand propaganda. Like, America's just a big manufactured like corporate propaganda system. So everything they're seeing on like CNN or Fox News, it's all garbage, right? And that doesn't mean that like the only thing useful anymore on YouTube really for me is like some intellectuals that can't make any money in academia have like cool channels, but mostly it's just like astroturf garbage news that like people ingest because they see like mainstream news as being all shitty, and then they just assume that the alternative must be right when it's even worse. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me to actually try to understand how people like in America are perceiving their own environment around them and what they think their own media is. I don't know anymore, this is a side note, but I'm curious for feedback on this maybe. I don't know how much I'm supposed to respect religious people with bigoted opinions, because, for example, I know this guy that I talk to all the time, and he's like very Christian, and so he's out there, and I do think that this is on some level a social thing and a sex thing, because like I do think a lot of these incels are the type that have turned very Catholic, and they seem to be like other, I'm just observing something that many other people have picked up on. They seem to like hate women, right? Like they're the most concerned with like banning abortion for women and stuff like that. And it's like, why are you guys focused on that right now? Like, anyway, I talked to this guy, and like these are the people that want to like ban gay marriage, and like I'll give you examples. I'm talking to this guy, and some of his opinions that he shared with me is like he believes that people are not naturally born gay. For example, they're gay because they're confused because of the original sin in the fall in the Garden of Eden. He also believes that patriarchy is not something that's evolved because of like the history of our species and culture and environment, agriculture and stuff. There's no framework for like why patriarchal religions are the way they are. It's just inherently part of creation, and women are supposed to submit to their husband, and there's a couple of abortion is evil. There's a bunch of stuff. Anyway, it's all just like ludicrous, and the problem is that it's actually like I understand, like it's wrong. Like when I talk about like patriarchy, the evolution of patriarchy, my opinion on this is based in academic study and rationality, evidence, something like that. So I can expect someone else to have to confront me on that based on like the evidence. But when I'm dealing with a religious person, this guy's stance is, this is my faith. So right there out the gate, like he and I have a different opinion, and I'm supposed to respect his, but mine is literally based on evidence. His is a faith-based opinion, which I feel is invalidated by evidence. Can't psychologically talk him out of it because his whole identity is tied up in this religion. And his stuff is basically like, harmful to other people. I don't mind weird religious stuff like this if you keep it to yourself, but he wants to go out and make policy and affect everybody else's lives based on his faith, which is literally not true, which we can talk about that and show you how all this stuff has come about. So I don't know, like, people that are coming at me for, lack of empathy towards these people, like how much selective empathy am I supposed to have for these people when there's actual people that are being oppressed all the time, and these are the people that I'm naturally feeling bad for, right? It also comes down to class consciousness and like what kind of consciousness you have about your own society. A lot of people are just in denial about what Western civilization is, what the Anglo Empire is, what imperialism really is. They just don't know, I guess, and they're in denial about it, or they're just genuinely ignorant. But these are some of my views on free speech. This wasn't a free speech issue, really. It was just a mental health issue, a political issue, and a gun rights issue. I don't know what it was. It was some kind of weird American bullshit. I would just suggest to you to look at, if you want to try to figure out how genuinely empathetic people are, look at who they're empathizing with and what context and what it says about who they are. And, again, don't condone Charlie Kirk's murder. Would have tried to help keep him alive. Would never personally have harmed him in that way. But I also think that he, made himself into a public figure and kind of attracts the kind of reaction that he got from the weird kind of people that did it to him. So take it all for what you will. And thanks for watching this video. If you watched the whole thing, take care, guys.